Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you guys to our town hall today, which is about HOPA Special Interest Groups, and hopefully we're going to be able to make significant connections today. My name is LeAnne Kennedy, and I'm the HOPA president, and I'm going to be joined today by some esteemed guests, Lisa Holle, Jennifer Murphy, and Sara Scott, amongst some of the HOPA staff as well. Before we get started, I wanted to do some general housekeeping. This town hall is being recorded and will be viewable by the end of the week. You can use the Q&A box to ask questions to the speakers, and then throughout the presentation, you can use the chat to connect with one another to engage in our conversations. We'd really like for this to be an interactive town hall for everyone. And we will be hosting or posting engagement questions throughout the presentation. And so I think we're going to start with one of our engagement questions right now. And I think Katie is going to put that in. Katie, if you'll go ahead and advance the next slide. And so where are you from and what's the weather like? So these are our panelists for today, Lisa Holle, Jennifer Murphy, and Sara Scott. And since I'm controlling the microphone right now, I'm just going to say that I'm coming to you guys from sunny North Carolina, but it happens to be cold here in Winston-Salem. It's 53, and it is going to be, it was cold, like record-breaking 26 degrees this morning. All right, so I see, I'm going to pull up the chat and see what we've got here. Milwaukee, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Boston. Oh, I saw somebody say, oh, cozy 40, but no snow. I thought I saw snow and I wanted to come with you guys. All right, we've got Utah and Maryland as well. Well, we really appreciate all of you guys joining us here today. And I think Lisa Davis gets the award for the warmest temperature at 81 degrees coming in from Tucson, Arizona. And so with that, we'll go to the next slide. And so one of the things we just want to kind of touch base with is, what is a special interest group? Next slide. So special interest groups are communities that come together so that they can share ideas and problem solve and connect with one another. And that's one of the things that HOPA is all about, is connecting with one another. We want to use our SIGs to be able to collaborate with other HOPA members about a specific professional topic. And you'll see those different SIG titles in a few slides. SIGs are different than committees, and we'll talk about those differences also in another slide, but it allows for flexible schedules. And so you don't even have to have a meeting with the SIG. You can just use it to be able to chat within the forum that way. Next slide. So just to give you a little history about the SIGs and HOPA, when we originally started with the SIGs, there were only 5 SIGs that were originally meeting, and they met only at the annual conference. So there wasn't really anything that was going on throughout the year. Then in 2013, part of the HOPA membership committee felt like we wanted to try and have our SIGs meet year round and try and expand their function and structure. And then in 2015, the number of SIGs grew from 5 to 7. And HOPA Central launches, and our SIGs actually had a dedicated online space to be able to meet together. Today, just about 8 years later, we have twice the number of SIGs, up to 14, and our SIGs have produced some outstanding work that's been supported by HOPA. And 2 of those SIGs are going to be highlighted today, and I'm so excited to be able to share some of their adventures. So the next slide's going to talk to us today, again, to highlight our SIGs are 20+ members who connect around one professional area. They help to problem solve for pharmacy professionals around the country. So this is a way to be able to get together, especially when these were originally started. We didn't have a lot of virtual meeting options, but this is, again, a great way to be able to pull people from all across the country. They can be engaged year-round on HOPA Central. We can also have them meet at the annual conference. And it's a way to share your experiences with others that know and understand your practice area the best. So how are SIGs different from committees? So with committees, we have members that have to apply to join. And we hear all the time on the HOPA board that, well, I wanted to be on a committee, but I wasn't chosen. And we have so many volunteers who want to be able to be involved. Well, a SIG is a great way to be able to become involved because you can add yourself, and you can add yourself to multiple SIGs where you can only be on one committee at a time. With committees, they are very structured. They have a very highly structured leadership with a past chair, chair-elect. They have fixed terms, usually 2 to 3 years. And the committee structure and the committees have set expectations by the board of directors. When you compare that to a SIG, it's more of a flexible leadership option. You can choose to be a leader. You can take on and lead an area within that SIG. You can be the one who's setting up calls and meetings monthly, every other month, however often you really want to. There's no term limits for members, so you can be on a SIG the whole time you practice in that specific area. And really, each SIG is able to set up their own expectations and goals. So this is a list of our current SIGs that we have. So again, we have 14 SIGs, and so there's no meaning to the color. We just felt like they were great colors to have. And these SIGs can vary anywhere from academia, administration, ambulatory, to being very specific to what type of EMR you have, whether it's Cerner or Epic. We have different ones based on where you work within the industry. It could be based on titles that you have, like residency program directors. But we're going to be highlighting 2 of ours today with the investigational drug services and academia SIGs later on today. Over the time, our SIGs have changed names, and so we've even had them be called user groups, but now we're trying to make it more formal and have them all have the term SIGs. And so I'm going to pass this off to Sara and Scott, who's going to talk to us a little bit from the membership committee. Thank you, Sara.
Thanks, LeAnne. I think that was a really helpful introduction to our HOPA SIGs. As a new practitioner, I know I've utilized these a lot. So as she mentioned, we have 14 established SIGs already, but there's always room for more. So I'm going to be walking y'all through the process of how we form a SIG. So there is a request process, but before you get to that, it's really important to consider some factors that the membership committee takes into consideration when we're evaluating the appropriateness of adding these SIGs. So the first thing to consider is this community unique, and does it offer and meet an unmet need that by our current communities? So thinking, is this a specialty that's already covered? Is this an area that's already covered somewhere else? And then what's the level of specialization? We do want there to be a tighter community than all of HOPA, but is it too over-specialized that's really going to limit the connection between members and limit the group capacity? And then finally, we do have to have some demonstrated interest. And so we require that at least 20 members have demonstrated that interest. Next slide, please. So once these have been evaluated and you determine that the SIG that you'd like to start is appropriate, then you can send your request to info@hoparx.org. At this time, we do not have a formal application, so just submit your request in writing. If we find some onslaught of some requests for SIGs, that's something the membership committee has talked about creating in the future. Once the request is received, it is reviewed by the membership committee. And again, we consider the 3 points above. So does the community meet an unmet need? Is the level of subspecialty appropriate for engagement? And are current HOPA members demonstrating an interest in the area? Once the SIG is approved, it is then created on HOPA Central, and then members are able to join and start collaborating. So I'll pass it off to Morgan, who's going to talk more about HOPA Central and the conduct around HOPA Central.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Kaufman. I'm the Director of Membership here at HOPA. And as we're talking today about SIGs and how they can be a great resource for you in your career development, I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to highlight HOPA Central, which is our online community where HOPA members communicate and engage year-round in and out of the special interest groups. So if you're a longtime HOPA Central user, you may have logged in the last few days and noticed a few changes. We just concluded an upgrade to HOPA Central, which includes obviously a new look and feel, but also some new features that we want to draw your attention to. And also take this opportunity to introduce these new features to some new HOPA Central users after today. So what you're seeing here is the home page before you log into HOPA Central. So this is what everyone sees, members and non-members. And once you're behind the login page is where you kind of get that more custom content. So To log into HOPA Central, there's a blue button up in the upper right-hand corner that says log in. You'll click that and then use your HOPA RX login information. Next slide. So once you're logged in, you'll be taken to your customized homepage. So similar to what we're familiar with social media, this page is customized to you based on your interests and behaviors. If we want to think about this page in 3 different segments, the far left column we can consider the For You column. And this is where you can update your personal information, your professional info. If you changed institutions, you can make that distinction here. And right below that, we have a My Communities quick list. So this is just a quick, exactly what it says, a quick list of links to the various communities that you can join within HOPA Central. So as LeAnne mentioned, you can join multiple SIGs. Those SIGs will be linked in your My Communities quick list. Below that, we have a followed content widget now. So with the upgrade, you have the ability to follow a specific post and receive updates if there has been any activity. And the way that you do that is in that middle column there, that is where all of your community discussion posts and library entries will live. So you'll see the little 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of those posts. When you click that, there will be a follow link that you can click on, and that will be added then to your followed content on your homepage. Also, in a new addition to this news feed, if you will, in the center column, is the recommend a post option, which is similar to liking, something that we're familiar with on established social media sites. And then moving over to the right-hand side, this is where you'll find a lot of the content that exists outside of HOPA Central. So we have links back to the main HOPA website, as well as other helpful resources that we think might be relevant to you. Below that feature, we have an events widget, which HOPA staff will be updating throughout the year. These can be general HOPA events, such as the annual conference, practice management. But with this upgrade, we also have the ability to add SIG-specific events. So if your SIG is hosting a meeting, we're able to add that to the calendar, and you're able to get notifications about that. And finally, on this homepage, we have an engagement leaderboard. So with this upgrade, everything you do on HOPA Central is eligible for points. And as you interact more, like more posts, comment on more things, your point total goes up, and you can maybe see yourself on this engagement leaderboard. Next slide. So here, this is what we're all here to talk about today, how to join a SIG. So if you're on your homepage, up at the very top navigation, there is a drop down that says communities. And within that, there's a tab that says all communities. You'll click on that. It'll take you to the list of every community that's available on HOPA Central. So you want to filter that down just to the special interest groups and browse what you're looking for. Once you found one that you're interested in, you just click the blue button to the side and request to join. There are a few prompts that you'll have to go through, such as confirming your communication preferences, but it's pretty straightforward. And after that, you've successfully joined your first SIG. So join as many as you want. There's no limit. So just browse all the options that you have available to you. We can go to the next slide. So a little known fact about HOPA Central is there is actually a way for you to access this on your mobile device without going through an internet browser. So I've included here some instructions on how to download the mobile app Connected Community. And once you download that, you'll just have to enter in the domain name for HOPA Central, which is central.hoparx.org. And you'll be able to engage in conversations directly from your phone, which is great. So I encourage you all to download that, turn on notifications, and get plugged into that HOPA Central community mobily. Like any community, there are rules that are expected to be followed, and HOPA Central does have a code of conduct. While we expect all users to review the code of conduct, we want to call out a few items during today's meeting to orient you to some of those bigger items that tend to come up more frequently. So first and foremost, HOPA can only be used by current HOPA members. So this community is locked down to anyone who is not a current HOPA member. And it's important to stay current with your dues so you can stay a part of those conversations happening within HOPA Central. Members may use HOPA Central to ask questions, share ideas and information, and inform members about important news. Members are able to obtain suggestions about hypothetical cases and standard procedures, obtain general oncology, hematology, or general pharmacy and medical information, and also discuss therapeutic topics in compliance with HIPAA regulations. HOPA Central is not intended to use to violate HIPAA or discuss identifiable patients or cases, promote any programs, educational or otherwise, advertise employment opportunities, post commercial messages, post items for non-members or an outside group, or cross-post messages to or from any external discussion group. One comment or question that we get a lot is, can I post a survey or a poll to HOPA Central? Currently, our policy states that any survey or poll cannot be longer than 3 questions. And the reason we limit it to 3 is because we want HOPA Central to remain an area for discussion and dialogue, and not necessarily a tool for formal research. So because of that, we limit the questions to only 3. And finally, etiquette. We've all been communicating online primarily for a very long time. So a lot of those things still stand. Typical online communication etiquette is expected. Be clear and succinct in your communication, be kind and courteous to your fellow HOPA members, and be cognizant that what you share on HOPA Central is visible for all to see. And then finally, violations to this code of conduct may result in the removal of a member from the online community. I've yet to have to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't think that's a problem with this group, but the membership committee as well as HOPA staff do monitor the community for violations. But if any member who believes that this policy has been violated should absolutely flag this to HOPA staff as soon as possible, so we're able to reach out to the member and rectify the situation. And finally, you've seen the video as it's been circling throughout, but you can find the code of conduct linked on HOPA Central on your member homepage. If you scroll down on the left-hand side, it's linked right there below our contact information. So that's all I have for you. If there are any questions about how to use HOPA Central, the code of conduct, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or other HOPA staff members who can point you in the right direction. This is a great tool to use, and we want to make sure that it's great for everybody. So that's all I have for you today.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. Sorry, do we have another engagement question?
I was thinking that we did.
We'll wait a second and see if it pops up in the chat.
And I think we can go ahead and say it verbally, but I think it's, if you want to, have you posted on a SIG yet, and which one?
Looks like we're getting a few people that have academia, the main. I think the main forum, we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I think that's everyone's go-to, mine as well. Main, IDS, Epic. People are excited about the mobile app and the new platform. Agreed. HOPA Central looks beautiful. I'm personally very competitive, so I'm excited about the points. Wow. So it's like industry SIG as well as the open forum. So wonderful. Y'all can keep sharing along. So now that we know a little bit more about the SIGs, our code of conduct, HOPA Central, we do want to make sure you're making the most of your SIG experience. So we're going to talk a little bit more about collaborating and connecting on HOPA Central. Next slide, please. So the first step, as we talked to, is join your SIG, and then set your notification preferences to receive a daily digest, just like that video showed. That can kind of, it's a reminder. It comes straight to your email every day, lets you know what's being discussed, and if it's something you're interested in or something you have expertise in, so that you can engage with other members. Then you can create some time to dedicate to your SIGs. We all are very busy, but if we can set aside a block of time where we can engage with our colleagues, it can be really beneficial. I think it's really fun to post questions and ideas to strike up conversation within your community. And it's also really important to support others by replying to their posts. So even I posted something and there were a lot of people who were like, hey, I've never heard of this, super interested, let me know what other people say. So just that engagement can really help grow the community. We do often see patient case questions, which I personally am the one who uses this for that. But I think it's also important to know that these discussion boards are a wonderful platform to have more general conversations that can help advance our practice. We're also working on a pilot as the membership committee for a few of the SIGs to help increase engagement. So you can look forward to that in the spring. I think we have 3 identified SIGs that have had some engagement. We want to take that up a notch, and this may provide opportunities for leadership within the SIG, as well as increased, more formal engagement with some set meetings. So that's exciting. And then finally, be sure you download that HOPA Central app. I'm a millennial. Anything at the tip of my fingertips makes life easier. So I think that's a really great tool as well. And like we said, this engagement may require some time investment, but it's truly, you get out what you put into here. So next slide, please. The last piece of best practice that we just want to highlight before we go into the highlighting of some of our SIGs is identifying what post is appropriate for the open forum versus the SIG specific discussion board. So I think this is really important from the perception of who do you want to engage in this post? Is there a target population that will make the most of this discussion? So as a special interest group, the SIG discussion board really offers a space for subject specific posts, comments and questions directly to HOPA members who have both demonstrated interest in this area and or have expertise in this area. So one example that I came up with was that, if you have a question about residency recruitment, you're a new RPD, maybe posting that in the RPD SIG rather than the main forum is great. And a question about GVHD prophylaxis post-stem cell transplant, that might be better for the cellular therapies and transplant group than, the geriatrics group. And so just kind of thinking through those things as you are joining these SIGs and making the posts. But there's always the open forum, and this is really a space for discussion that spans across many specialties, is not really specific to one area, or we don't have a SIG that really fits that topic. I was browsing today and there were a couple questions about polatuzumab, and we don't really have a hematology SIG. So I think that was a great place for that. Other recent posts in the group included the treatment authorization process, something that's seen across the spectrum. Maybe the Epic users have some input in that. Maybe admin has some input in that. Chemotherapy order verification. We all are engaged in that in some way. And then medication monitoring within Epic. So some of those broader topics. Okay, and then I think we have one more. Oh no, we already did that engagement question. So I will transition over to Jen, who's going to start off by sharing one of our SIG success stories.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My computer's crashed, so I am joining you from my cell phone. But I'm here to talk about the Investigational Drug Services SIG. Next slide, please. Our IDS SIG began in early 2015, and it was mostly through the meetings like Katie had talked about. And during COVID, it was reinvigorated. And so we have been meeting every month for the past several years. We meet on the third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 Eastern time. And we've had several initiatives within our group, and they're really member driven. They're things that we felt were important and were things that we wanted to bring to light for others and to share. So we've done several publications and manuscripts. We wrote a paper that was endorsed by HOPA that was published in AJHP that discussed how to manage investigational drugs in the post-COVID or the pandemic setting. We also have had a manuscript recently accepted for publication on metrics. So we are looking forward to getting that out to the community. We have submitted another manuscript and it's pending review. We have engaged with NCI through the support of our members. So if anyone's familiar with Aurora for the NCI, that's been a big change for IDS practice. And so we've been really able to come together as a community and advocate for our needs through HOPA. And then every month we have roundtable discussions. And so with our group, people are able to have dialogue with others, whether it's a technician, pharmacist. We have people from industry that are on the call, and we just really discuss what's going on in real time and what our maybe some pain points are, and get other people's perspective. So in addition to the roundtable discussions and getting great feedback from my colleagues, some benefits of joining our SIG, or things that I've gotten out of the SIG personally, is really the contacts and the community. So I have created a huge network of colleagues that I can reach out to at any time if I had questions. If I wanted to collaborate on a multi-institutional project, I have that ability. I know someone earlier was saying when you post to the open forum, it can only be 3 questions. Within our SIG, we do allow for longer surveys. And so it helps us to benchmark or get information in an area where data is really hard to come by, because we're just such a niche area. And so we do sometimes pull one another. But I think it's really the community, the network, and really just kind of the opportunity to come together as a greater area, because the IDS pharmacies are otherwise kind of on an island and isolated. And so those are some of the things that I've benefited from. And then being involved with the papers for publication and being able to have that professional development. Thank you. And I'll pass it off to Lisa.
Hello, folks. So I'm going to speak about one of our newer SIGs, the Academia SIG. Next slide, please. So we really got this SIG off and running at the annual conference last year. And our goal with this SIG is to help with the oncology pharmacy faculty to do 2 main things. One is to discuss and collaborate about topics that are timely and pertinent, not only to oncology-related teaching, but also for many of the folks that are faculty. We have service, scholarly, and promotion professional growth that is always on the top of our mind, or part of our actual job responsibilities. And I think it was really a factor of a couple of my colleagues and I talking about how we feel like sometimes we don't know who we can reach out to for advice on these related things, or people are leaving academia, and so the people that we used to collaborate with are no longer in academia, et cetera. And then the other opportunity is for faculty to meet one another, again, because we have always more faculty who are entering into this position, others that are leaving or transitioning out. And so getting to know those in this area is helpful, as well as Jennifer alluded to, developing collaborations would really be beneficial to us as well. And then finally, we're also very keen on trying to further oncology pharmacy education, with HOPA's goal in mind of trying to have a pharmacist who's a key player in each individual person who has cancer. So being able to allow for pharmacy academia as a profession and teaching the next generation of pharmacists about caring for patients with cancer. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we began last year, we really kicked it off at the annual HOPA conference. There were a few of us academia faculty in the oncology area that are HOPA members that thought this might be a really great opportunity for us to collaborate. So we met during the SIG timeframe where it was a networking event. And we decided that we were all interested in discussing these issues, having collaborative opportunities, and also the mentorship piece I think is big, is we need to identify faculty who can serve on promotion review, but also to be able to help us be and help the different levels of faculty members be on track to be successful in their promotion. We then applied for the SIG through the membership committee as we learned there were enough people who might be interested in doing this. As mentioned before, it's just a short summary needed to describe why the SIG would be important and what difference it might have from the other SIGs, and then at least 20 individuals who wanted to participate. And then the membership committee votes on that approval. Next slide. So to date, other than our annual meeting, we have created our discussion board on the HOPA Central, and I'm very excited to see this new platform because I think it'll be so much easier and user-friendly to be able to post and to respond and to find previous posts, not only for our specific SIG, but for all of the other SIGs as well. We started to do quarterly webinars. We've done 2 so far. One was on didactic electives and how different faculty who have electives in oncology offer that and what sort of activities they do and how it might be sequenced within the curriculum. And then most recently, we did one on active learning and grading for oncology required content within schools of pharmacy. So it was really interesting to see different aspects of active learning and how faculty are grading oncology content and how we might be able to learn from one another. We're hoping to continue this quarterly webinar engagement and also to try to identify other ways, very much like what IDS is doing for collaborations, also to see if there are other ways that we can maybe do mentorship or connect with one another other than these quarterly webinars. So we're just a relatively new SIG, so we're getting up and running here. I think our goal is to be able to meet that desire, which is to have an impact on oncology pharmacy education across the country and through HOPA. Thank you.
So nice to see so many wonderful things that have been going on in these 2 newer SIGs for HOPA. And so at this time, I'd like to open up for any questions. I'm so excited to be able to know that there are so many of you guys on, and just wanted to see if anyone will put some questions in the Q&A or in the chat directly. One of the ones that we had received was, again, just how do you get to start or request a new SIG? And I just want to put in again that's sending an email to info@hoparx.org. So I think that's great. So one of the questions was, how does the HOPA listserv fit in with the HOPA Central and the SIGs? So the listserv is really part of the open forum. And again, that's where asking questions that are more general for that. And so I think that it's not so much that it's going to phase out. It's really the same thing. We just refer to it as different names that way. And if Morgan or Sarah needs to correct me on that, please feel free to do so.
That's exactly right, LeAnne. The listserv or the email that you get to your account every day in some cases is a summary of the open forum and the posts that are going on there.
So hopefully that helps to clarify that. And then someone asked that they would like to join the Thursday IDS SIG meeting. So I think that's a great way. You just need to be able to join the IDS SIG, and that's going on to HOPA Central and joining the SIG. And that's as easy as it gets. Often a lot of things that go along with a large organization get to be pretty complex, but that's a pretty simple thing for us. Another question is, how can a SIG post a SIG-related community event on the HOPA Central platform? So Morgan, I may need to leave that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're going to leave it up to staff to update and add those events. So if you have an event within your SIG that you want to widely advertise, just let us know and we'll get one up there. We hope to one day be able to give once we have a more structured leadership in place for these SIGs, we hope to give the SIG leader the ability to add events themselves. But because this product is so new to us, we're just going to centralize all of that with the HOPA staff.
Right. And another question was asking if there were going to be networking events at the SIG for the SIG group members at the HOPA Practice Management and Annual Conference. So at the annual conference, for sure, we are working on creating times for the SIGs to be able to meet. At this time, we haven't planned on doing the practice management meeting, but I think this is a wonderful time to be able to communicate within the SIG. And if you guys are going to be there, then meet, find a time. If you need help, maybe trying to find a space or something, you could reach out to staff to be able to help, or let me know. And I'd love to be able to come over and see you guys and see what's going on. And if a new SIG is created, how does the HOPA membership learn about them? And I think that is a great question. I don't know if Morgan or Sara has a way that you guys are going to promote that.
Yeah, I think our first step would definitely be adding it to HOPA Central. We'd likely post something in the open forum about the new SIG opportunity, and also the normal channels. So email, social media, all those places we would make the membership aware of this new SIG.
And I think even through my HOPA president little paragraphs in the newsletter, being able to focus on ways to connect, that's something that I would love to be able to highlight. If we get some new SIGs in the next little bit, I would love to be able to share that with everyone. But I think social media is another great way of being able to promote that besides our general HOPA emails. Any other questions? I'm looking at the Q&A to see if there was anything else. So what resources and support does the organization provide to SIGs and their members? So this is one of the things that's a little different. So we don't have member or HOPA staff to support each of the SIGs. This is really something that is member driven. If there is a project or an idea that may impact HOPA more as a organization, then reaching out to a HOPA staff member or to a board member and talking about that and seeing how we can go to get board support or any other support, then I would definitely recommend reaching out that way for that. And then another question was, what can SIGs produce with HOPA support, such as white papers mentioned? And I think that really the white papers are a great example for that, just really trying to communicate and share other ideas. Who knows if, maybe some collaborative research ideas through that might be able to be involved as well from that. Does anybody else have any other thoughts from our panel today about what other things that SIGs can produce?
So for the IDS SIG, we did do a research project. We surveyed our own community, and that was part of our metrics paper that was just approved. And then we published outside of HOPA. And so we wanted to have the HOPA endorsement on it. So we did go to the board to be able to include the HOPA name and get their endorsement. But I think that it really depends on what area you work in and what you want. I mean, it's all member driven. And so it's really, the world is your oyster to produce what fits your area.
Thank you, Jen. I think really, as I've seen other SIGs that have really succeeded, it's really taking and having, one or two pharmacists, technicians who really are passionate and really want to pull a group of people together to come together over that common topic and to really help to say, what can we do, or what do we need? What are we missing in stem cell transplant or IDS? And I think with IDS and COVID, that was such a big thing to be able to identify and say, we need to figure out how to do this when we can't see people. And so really being able to identify, and then having someone willing to take on some leadership and go, hey, I'll coordinate these meetings. I'll, send out an agenda and I'll lead the meeting, or I'll find someone else who will lead the meeting. Maybe you've got some great ideas, but you don't like to talk in front of other people. Then you can come up with some ideas and ask someone else to lead the meeting for you. And so what advice do you have for SIGs that might have lost momentum? And so I think if you see one of the SIGs that's on HOPA Central and you're like, hey, that's something that I'd like to be a part of, then I think then you can really just reach out to other people in that area, or just start posting within that SIG and say, hey, I'm interested in trying to get this SIG reinvigorated, to kind of really reactivate it so that we can really represent this group and offer to take on some of that leadership and some of that responsibility. I think this is a great thing for new practitioners or even mid-level practitioners who haven't had an opportunity for some leadership. And so this is a way to be able to get some great leadership, but it takes some self-initiation for that. And if you guys ever have any questions, I think it is definitely feasible to reach out to other board members or other SIG leadership, like the IDS SIG or the Academia SIG, to say, how did you guys do this? And would you help mentor me through that? Because I know that they would be willing to help with that. Any other questions? All right. Well, as we mentioned, we're really looking forward to seeing what we can do to move forward with developing some new SIGs potentially, or just reactivating and really bringing some new energy to the SIGs for HOPA. This is definitely a way to be able to get together and to get involved when maybe you haven't found a way to get involved otherwise. And so we recommend and invite you to visit HOPA Central to explore the new look and the new feel. With that, thank you to our HOPA staff for helping with that. I encourage you to join a SIG and really find something that speaks to you. And then there will be a post-town hall survey to provide feedback and suggestions. So I really appreciate it if you would do that. And then there'll be future notices about future town halls, and I appreciate it if you guys would participate with that. And with that, we appreciate your attendance and your engagement, and I look forward to seeing everyone soon. Have a great day.